can this please be done by 5 p.m? And I know if I said that to my team, they would do it, come hell or high water. And I think that would probably just be more to focus the team.
Yes.
But they do know in my persona, and if they fed this back to me, when it's time for quiet time and actually time to get stuff done.
Yes. So what your persona allows them to understand is when you're serious about this deadline,
yes.
you're serious about let's get on and do it.
Yes, yes.
And when it's time to collaborate and explore and move things forward.
Yeah, and I think it being a learning and development team, we need to be quite lively, and we need that balance and those peaks and troughs, because those conversations are often how, I can learn that, I can do that too, and I love that.
Yes.
But that's not all the time.
Yes.
And sometimes I think they would like it to be all the time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we all? But we've got to get stuff done too. So it's about just balancing it out, really. And they can tell by my persona.
Yes, they can tell. Yes. And that's because, as you say, you're quite open and expressive.
Yes.
So the openness and the expressiveness is an energising factor.
Yes.
But it's also a way of saying to them, come on, let's get on with this.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think because we've worked hard at our relationships between us, they respect me as I respect them for when it's the quieter time.
Yes. So for that quieter time, it's the fact that relationship is strong and there's respect.
Definitely. I would definitely. I don't want to sound trite at all, but I definitely feel we've got a strong relationship.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Okay. So what I'd like to do now is to focus on the situations that you've reflected on.
Yes.
And I just want to remind you that what I'm interested in is you can use any examples that you like. They can be positive or they can be not so positive or negative in outcome. And they can be upwards or downwards, so it can be with your team or they could be across the organisation. Don't feel restricted just to talk about you and your team.
Okay.
Do you have a particular one that you want to start with?
But where I've used relationships?
Yes, where you've used relationships.
Yes. There's when you sent that email, the first one that came into my head was maybe 3 years ago. And every year, we have a PDR system here, and every year we do the training every year.
Yes.
And let's just say this year's programme, probably more than 3 years ago, went down like a lead brick.
Yeah.
And I thought, it was in there, I had 30 people in the room. I thought, I need to turn this around, I need to turn it around now, because quite frankly, right now I've got 30 very sad-looking faces.
Yes.
They need to leave this room feeling comfortable, positive and okay about this system. And I used my relationship with them, and I really used how we got on together, and I turned it into more of a banter session. Say, right guys, you've got 5 minutes to tell me the things you really don't like about the system, and then we're going to move on to the next bit.
Yes.
So I did lean on my relationship with them, and they warmed. One of them started, and then the next one started, and the next one started. Great, right. And I can be quite sarcastic with people that I know quite well.
Yes.
And it did get a touch sarcastic.
Yes.
Which was okay, because I was measuring myself out so closely with the room I was in. But I knew these people quite well. And they did resonate back to me.
Yes.
And they did leave the room, and I said to them at the end, how do you feel now in comparison to when you first saw it?
Yes.
And they said, better. And I said, so what's changed? They said, because we understand it and we get it.
Yes.
I said, do you like it? No. I said, do you have to like it? No. Do you have to respect it? Yes.
Yeah.
So did I lean on myself, on my relationships? Most definitely.
Yeah. So can I just take you through what you were doing when you were leaning on those relationships? Just take me through an example, any one person in the room, just so we can
sure. So
unpick that a little
So
bit.
first of all, I use silence.
Yes.
So I just said, and I just let the room settle, because everyone was like, oh my God, are you telling me? And the volume went up, the tone went right up. Oh my God, are you telling me that we're going to have to do that and that?
Yes.
What's everyone else think?
Yes.
And then just let the silence fall. And I just let them sit, and they didn't know what to expect from me.
Yes.
And I knew, I didn't know myself where it was going, but I just thought, let's just calm this down.
Yes.
And then to bring it back, I thought, I now need to start to say, actually, and one of it, I'll give you a specific example. One of it was around, we were asking people to phone our clients after they'd made a booking.
Yes.
Not every client, and that's what they'd all seen. Well, you want us to phone every client? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
What we were suggesting is, I want you to phone 2 or 3 clients a month, just to see how their trip was. Right?
Yeah.
And everyone would give me the folded arms, no way, not possible, haven't got time, all that. Let that settle. And I thought, right, let me think. Right, so Vicky,
yeah,
do you remember 2 weeks ago when you and I had that great coaching conversation?
Yeah.
And I said, are you okay? I'm not going to share anything confidential, just to reassure her that I wasn't going to, in case she's thinking, goodness gracious, what you're about to say.
Yes.
And I said, I fed back to you that we'd had a client commendation.
Yes.
And this is completely what happened.
Yeah.
We had a client commendation that had thanked her for phoning her after the trip.
Yes.
And I said, that's a fantastic example. And I was I knew I was leaning on my relationship with Vicky at this point, and she bought into what I was doing, which I was very grateful for at the time. And she went, oh yeah, is that what you're talking about, Jules? I went, yes it is, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Now that particular individual, I picked her on purpose because she's quite a leader in her group.
Yes.
And there was a couple of her, can I say cronies in the room?
Yes.
So I hoped, and it paid off, I was lucky, it paid off for me, that she would then say, oh, it's only this. And that's what happened, and people then started to warm up a little bit. So hopefully that's an example.
That's great. So it warmed up people by directly involving, in this case, Vicky, and building on the relationship that you had with her.
Yes,
you knew in that relationship that she would be okay about sharing certain aspects. Obviously, not confidential aspects.
No, exactly.
But so you were able to go back to her and say, do you remember this? And this is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So you were encouraging people to understand what you really meant by 2 or 3 times a month.
Yeah.
By using that example.
Exactly, because what I was picking up from the room, Hazel, that although I tried to run quite an open and a fluid session, they weren't hearing me.
Yes.
They weren't hearing the words that I was coming out with.
Yes.
So I needed it to somehow come from one of them, in inverted commas. And the only way I could think in the minute, if I dissect that, is to think, well, I need to engage somebody in the audience, so it does come from them. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I could have fallen flat on my face.
Yes.
And she could say, oh, no, absolutely not, you can't share. No, I'd stop talking. And, it could have gone completely wrong. But I took a gamble, and I was lucky. Touch wood, it paid off for me.
So that was in quite a formal situation, if you like, because it's a training situation.
Yes, it was, yeah.
So in that circumstance, you probably also got the authority of being the trainer, the coach, the thing.
Yeah.
What stopped you or prevented you from using the position, using the authority in that case?
Using my authority?
Yes.
It's not congruent with my training style. At all, and I think it would have gone down like a lead brick.
Yes, yeah.
And I think one thing I've learned about working with guys, particularly here, and the culture here, is that you talk and engage with people, you never talk at them.
Yes.
And that's just not my natural style anyway, I don't think.
Okay, so it works together. It's both the fact that your natural style is to communicate in that way, but also it's not the culture of Reed McCoy either.
No.
Okay, very good. And what was the outcome, the impact on that group of people? So there were 30 people in the room.
Yeah.
What happened after that session?
Well, I said to them at the end, how do you feel? And they said they felt better because they got it. I mean, respectfully, the system was happening because the CEO had asked us to include those factors into the system, and the sales director. So it was happening, whether respectfully they liked it or not.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to sound so autocratic about that. But for me, what I could change, and I focused on what I could change, and that was their approach and their feelings to it. So they left the room. I said, can we all agree in this room right now that we're going to have a go?
Yes.
And I said, if there's something fundamentally wrong, and that's something that's fundamentally, genuinely not working for the business, emphasis on business, then we can agree to a review in 3 months' time.
Okay.
So, and I did that with every group.
Okay, so it was a business focus. Mm-hmm. You got agreement to action, and you gave them an out in the sense of a review in 3 months.
I had to give them a small out.
Small out.
Yeah.
But of course, what you were really saying is you believed that it would work anyway, so you wouldn't ever need to use that.
There we are. And we didn't have a review.
Yes.
Did we change it the following year significantly? Yes, we did. But did it work in its entirety in its own right? Yes, it did.
And the outcome for the business was what? What was the business outcome?
Well, it was a client retention objective, that particular one, and I don't have the exact client retention stats year on year. But it was the business outcome was that there was a focus on client retention.
Yes.
And not just looking at every client isolated, but actually thinking, do you know what, that client I can influence, that client I can influence, and so can I influence that one. It was it created more of a holistic approach, if you like, to client retention.
Okay. And do you think that, in what way do you think the relationship that you had with Vicky and others in that room helped to create that holistic viewpoint?
Ooh, tricky question. How did my relationship help to create that? Because I didn't give up. I think they respected me, Hazel, for not giving up on that session. And I sense, and I don't have any evidence to this note at all, but I sense that people were with me, but they almost, because their mates weren't with me in the session, they couldn't be seen to be with me.
Yes.
It was quite interesting dynamics. But afterwards, people were, oh, hi there, can I make you a coffee? Not done that before. Interesting. And I got a sense that there was an undertone of, I get that you suffered that out, I get that you went through that, and because of that, we're actually now going to focus.
Yes.
And I felt there was a real payback in a positive way.
So there was a payback on a couple of levels, but what I'm hearing you say there, on one level there was the payback that they immediately said, I'll make your coffee, which they hadn't done before. So there was a sort of friendliness, perhaps even more a sense of
maybe
we're still
a guilt, perhaps. That may be too strong. Now, don't get me wrong, not everybody took that approach. Some people were vehemently against it, but later sessions, there was 12 sessions. But I think there was maybe a touch of guilt amongst some pushing it too far.
And then so that they recognised that you suffered it out, and they also were starting to come round to your point of view.
They were. So, and I had an hour and a half max with them. So it's a very short space of time to share a message, to get feedback, to manage the initial change piece, if you like, just to get people back on board. But I do think they respected me, and because of that, they said they almost gained agreement to have a go.
Okay. So the outcome in that instance was a number of things. One was that it had a business goal, which was the client retention goal.
Yes.
And what you were able to do was gain commitment to that. There was also a holistic thinking about where it came from, and then there was that they were cementing the relationship. They were building that with the coffee and the other things as well.
Absolutely.
So the relationship in that case was two-way, wasn't it? Because it wasn't just you.
Most definitely two-way. Yeah.
It was also them, perhaps whether it's feeling guilty or whatever was behind that, but they were saying, Jules, let's move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Whether that's because they needed my help to implement it for themselves, that's the cynical approach, but let's not take that.
So it might be that they needed help to do it.
But they did need a lot of help afterwards, which I was very open and offered. I was very open and said, this isn't just a one-time briefing and that's it. This is an initial briefing, and then we'll come into your team meetings, and then we'll come to you one-to-one if we need to. So that was hopefully to try and calm and they learn.
Okay, so there was a calmness in your approach. There was the use of your understanding of non-verbals, your very clear thinking about the way you wanted to communicate that message, and that all worked together to make that happen.
It did. I can't say I planned that message though, because I had planned the session to be very different. But when I saw the initial reaction, it was a change on your feet situation. So it would be unfair for me to say that I planned that message that way.
Yeah. Okay, so it wasn't planned. It was a flexible change of approach. To the situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Can you give me any other examples which maybe are in slightly different situations? For example, do you have any where you were influencing the executive team, for example?
Yes, I've just done one today, actually. So I had a meeting. Do you want names in this?
You can use names because it'll all come out.
It'll all come out.
Of the wash.
So I was having a chat with Tony.
Yes.
You need to be quiet because they sit quite close by. I'll sit here. So an individual I was coaching earlier on has just moved into reporting into Tony.
Yeah.
There's been a bit of a restructure in a couple of departments.
Yes.
And huge development gaps.
Yes.
This individual was